Hey everyone, welcome to the broadcast. This is Leland Best from BCBLive coming to you at getvocal.com today over at Wake Up West Coast. It's supposed to work because it's lunchtime. We're hanging out here in Michigan in the center of the state. So it's 12 p.m. out here Eastern time. And I know some of those folks out there on the West Coast are just getting around 9 a.m. Breakfast, coffee, all that other good stuff. So I, in tribute of that, bring my coffee. And let me tell you a little bit about what's going on over here at Wake Up West Coast. Basically, I put this together so that all of us who are familiar with the old Blab format from back in the day knew how important a four-square conversation could be and how it could not only start new conversations between people who maybe wouldn't normally get along or talk to each other, but it could also build new friendships and business partnerships and lots of other things of that nature. So what we're finding out here at Get Vocal is it's doing just that as well again now. We're seeing that all the stuff that we used to see happening out on Blab where people would communicate, get together, share thoughts, share ideas is happening out here at Get Vocal as well. So we decided every Monday at 12 p.m. we were going to come out here and just sit and talk. And it's not a game show host type thing where I'm out here saying, hey, come on by and buy my stuff. That's not what it's about at all. I wanted to bring people together from all parts of the world to simply sit down and have conversation. So if you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, please join into the conversation. We're going to be using a little bit of an overlay here, so bear with me, folks, while we're going at this. You will be able to see comments coming in from Facebook over at my Leland Best Live page. On Twitter, if you use the hashtag GetVocal, or over on YouTube, if you're watching this on my Leland Best Live channel as well, leave a comment in the side feed. They will automatically generate. You'll see where they're coming from. They'll either have a little tweet, a little Facebook logo, or a little YouTube logo as they come in. So at least we'll be able to see your conversations as they arrive. This is automated, so I will just try to be following along with the posts. I have a way to generate and pop up. If anybody has a question, we'll certainly bring those up on stage as well. So welcome to the broadcast. I'm going to open up the seats so that everyone else can just sit down and participate in this because, like I said, this isn't about presenting a guest or a special guest, which I will have down the road. We'll start bringing some people in with certain topics to discuss. But for now, we're just trying to get people out here to get familiar with the site, hang out on Get Vocal, get to understand how it works and how it functions, and then find a way to get them into a seat real quick so that we can sit down and talk with them and find out what they're all about. So let's get this thing going. I'm going to open up the chairs. The seats are now unlocked. So if we have anyone here that wants to jump in, I already see Preston in the house. So if I know he's always anxious to get out here and say what he wants to say. So feel free to just take a seat at any time. Pay attention to the rules up above. If you're here at Get Vocal, there's a little banana up there at the top that tells you the rules of the rooms, basically to just be polite, be cordial, don't step on people while they're talking, tell the truth, that kind of stuff, right, Preston? That's all we want is a little bit of truth telling around here. I'm going to hear you for a second on the speakers, so don't be surprised if you get a feedback. Hi, Francine. I forgot to put my headset on, so also, if you join a room, please have a headset or earbuds or something on your ears because if the sound from us comes through your speakers back into your mic, we're going to get a huge echo and Get Vocal here, and we don't want to do that. So welcome to the broadcast, Preston. Go ahead. What's up today?
Thanks. Oh, no, I don't know. I was just stopping in here because I had a little bit of time between my other calls I have to make today, but no, it was good to see you. I kind of went through this weekend. I'm kind of addicted to this now again, kind of like Blab. Isn't that a good thing?
It's
happen. Like 10 o'clock. Yeah, well, you know, it's like it breaks the day up, which is great because then you can meet other people and, you know, learn something. I mean, I learned a lot from John Preto. I mean, I knew him, obviously, from Blab, but then, you know, going to some of his other things, I learned more. So it's good. But yeah, so I'm just hanging out because I have a little time.
Awesome. And Preston's down there in Honduras. So we've got Francine in the house. I'm going to let her give herself a little introduction to everybody here. Francine, I believe we've met over on a couple of places, one being Blab and over on Fire Talk as well, because you're out there broadcasting with Terry Johnson, right?
Yep. Yes, we do. So Terry will be on our show tomorrow, but we do our Biz Chicks TV over. We run that on YouTube and Facebook. right now. And we did meet. I liked Fire Talk back in the day. It was kind of nice. And then back on Blab. And this is nice too. This has I don't know what the feel is. It's kind of.
They're still working on the feel. Yeah, it's a little more technically advanced than what we were used to on Blab. We've been in a lot of talks with the developers over here. There's a lot of people who are gung-ho about making this also very good with discovery. So they're looking at building out communities here that people will be able to utilize this platform just to develop friendships and networking and business partnerships. I mean, I see it happening already in the last couple of weeks that I've been here, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's easy to maneuver. It wasn't rocket science trying to get in to.
Are you on the app, Francine, or are you on a Mac or something?
I'm on my Mac.
Okay, because there is an app as well that people might not know about yet that is working, but there's no chat function on the app just yet, and they will have that soon. Just to shout out for the people out here in the crowd, we got John Preto in the house. We got Patricia. If you see Anton there was somebody who was in the room before we started. Anton's one of the developing engineers on the back end that's doing most of the coding. So if you see Anton's image there, you can always reach out and talk to him. There's also 4 Alexanders here at Get Vocal. One goes by Alexander Duarte. One is Alexander or Zan at Get Vocal. The other is just Alex, I believe, and we haven't figured out how we're supposed to address the CEO just yet, but his name pops up every now and then, so you'll see him show up every now and then as well. I wanted to ask, we got Paul in the house. I didn't even see you jump in. I was looking over here at the other screen. So welcome, Paul. How are you doing today?
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, just tell the folks here out at Get Vocal real quick who you are and where you come from and what brought you out here.
Well, I'm Paul Terry Walhus. I'm in downtown Austin, Texas, overlooking the state capitol and the University of Texas from my condo. I'm a real estate guy. I have rental property out in neighboring county called Bastrop, and I've been a veteran of the tech industry in Austin since 1980 when I worked on the early stage computers. I've been with a couple dozen startups and half a dozen major tech companies in the Austin area. And I could go on, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way we like to run the conversation here is we don't ever want to just let somebody go on for 20 minutes at a time, because I'd like to bring as many people in here as I can for introductions anyway. And for now, I like to just kind of roundtable this. We'll go with Preston and then back to Patricia or Francine and then around to Paul again and see what you guys have to say about the platform in general. Give us a little idea of why you're using it or how you intend to use it. Since obviously you're all here, you've been here at least once or twice before. Give the folks who maybe are just showing up for the first time what this as a tool would mean to you, Preston. So give me an idea how you would use it.
I mean, obviously, I see it's a better quality, and I even talked to Tony Iverson about it yesterday, and he said, yeah, it's a higher quality than what Blab was. The audio is better, the video is better, so that's going to make a big difference, I think. But, I'm here, too, because I'm kind of separated from the U.S., so I don't get a chance to really network like I used to. And I really enjoyed that. I actually started networking groups before and used to, go all over the place to meet with people. So this is just another way of doing it, a virtual handshake instead of a real handshake. But, obviously collaboration is a big deal. Getting ideas from others, learning, about different industries, will help me as I'm growing my business as well. So that's why I'm here.
That's awesome. So you're really kind of wrapping your brain around which ways you can use it right now and getting ready to apply those. Now, with Francine, you're running a show already. You're doing a broadcast regularly. I see you guys posting all the time, and I have to regret the fact that I don't get to see your broadcasts as much as I used to when we were on Blab or Fire Talk. So bouncing where you did from place to place, now you're on YouTube. Do you think, because right now we're broadcasting to Facebook Live and YouTube Live as well. So I'm bringing in the comments using the software I use, which is a little higher tech than what's available here at Get Vocal. But the fact is we have that reach. We have Facebook, YouTube. How are you going to incorporate this in your business model?
Right now, we do an after show on Fridays because we do Tech Divas Weekly on Fridays, and we do an after show here, and we talk about tech stuff and questions people might have about tech, and then they can get answers. Whereas on the other platforms, they have to do it in the chat. Here, they can take a seat and get some help, and we can take a look at whatever they're working on. It's a little better. The only thing that we've all talked about with the ladies that are over on BizChicks is the graphics on the bottom here are a little much. You know what I mean? It's a little clutter.
Yeah, I thought that too. A little bit.
But
it's branding. Okay. They've got a business to run too, I guess, so they want to put the branding on there. I kind of felt the same way about the multiple getvocal.com logos, but I think with the fact that when you can broadcast here, it doesn't actually broadcast all 4 rooms out. So, and I want to make a point about that because it's kind of important. Currently, and maybe Anton or any of the other folks, let's see who's here that's from the Get Vocal team. Yeah, we got a few coming in. I appreciate everybody showing up. The thing that you'll find when we have 4 seats open like this, if somebody switches a tab out, like I've seen you do a couple times, Patricia, your avatar will show up in the frame. Now, one thing that I know used to be the issue was when it broadcast out to Facebook and YouTube, that square would just remain black so that there's no broadcast, unless they've changed it. They may have added the avatar now. So just a consideration for those that are broadcasting with the platform, because you don't have to. That seat will not broadcast that person's face if they're moving their tabs around. So if you're having an interview out here, make certain that your guest is aware of that. And if they have 2 screens, great. They could leave one open with Get Vocal so that there's no tabs open in the same browser. But if I open a tab right now in my browser, this is what happens. It takes over and replaces my face with the image. So that will also be displayed out on the YouTube or Facebook video. So if you want a good reproductive video that you can use later as repurposed video, then you want to keep that in mind. So
yeah,
thanks, Francine. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what we do right now. Sorry,
I figured out something that might help if you basically want to go to another tab, and I don't know, I haven't done this necessarily, but you basically make it as a new tab.
Oh.
Yeah, you create. Yeah, that's what we did. We pulled out and just I pulled the tab off so that it's not with my other.
Because it's following what Chrome or whatever browser you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
that's why I usually use 2 screens, and that way if you have one that's always there with no tabs flickering, then you won't have that issue. That's just it's tough with one monitor though. It is. It's just
and I have a broadcast over to Facebook from here too. I did a hack. I don't have all of the what is it, the codecs and all of that. I just ran it to Facebook with a on Facebook Live. I use the share screen in Facebook.
Oh yeah, you could do that too. But if you got broadcaster rights, then you don't need that. You just add whatever page URL and stream key that you want, and it'll save it here in the system so that you don't have to keep replacing it. And that way it'll fire. But it's good to fire up the stream on Facebook first. YouTube just takes off, but the Facebook one, we'll show you how here coming up. I'm sure we can cover it real quick. So Paul, before we wrap up that first process, how are you going to use Get Vocal, and what's it going to mean to your business model? How do you plan to move ahead with this?
It's definitely going to stimulate my business model because I'm planning to do tech interviews with the startup scene here in downtown where I live, this Austin, Texas startup scene, and highlight different app developers and tech developers. And we're such a hotbed, and there's so much going on, and I have so many connections that I'd like to get these people in a format like this where we could get several tech companies talking to each other. And I'm waiting for my little speaker icon up here in the corner to change so I'm a broadcaster, and then I can be off to the races. So
okay. Well, we'll make sure we push we'll push a couple of buttons for you. If you're looking for getting broadcaster rates out here, I've been told to send a email to either Zan at getvocal.com or Giselle, I believe is the way she spells her name. You see her pop up every now and then on the side at getvocal.com. And just tell them you're from Blab or that I sent you, and they should be able to hook you up with a broadcaster setup real quick.
All right.
At least within a day.
I've got a connection going here in use. I sent Zan an email a couple days ago per John Preto's suggestion. And if anybody else like to jump in now, I can jump out. Do you want me to jump out?
All right. Just before you do, Paul, I want to just mention your tech folks might work really well with the people I plan on possibly bringing in here, which will be VCs and some other folks higher up that food chain as well, that we might be able to do some collaborations with and either find some ways to fund some of the programs that your people are trying to develop or vice versa. We'll see what's happening because we got some big things coming down the pike here soon.
Yeah, mostly working through Austin's Capital Factory, which is in the Omni Hotel just a few blocks from here. And they have a whole layer of, they have mentors, VCs, AIs, angel investors, and startup companies. And they're now occupying 3 floors of the Omni Hotel right in downtown. So that's a hotbed, and I hope to tap into a lot of that energy that's going on there.
Well, I'm excited to have them stop by here as well, because I know we'll be opening up other broadcasts that will stem from this. I'll tell you the way we're going to use this. This is obviously the network place to be, and this is where you're going to meet people that might align with the niche you're in or the type of business you need, or maybe you just need somebody to help you with what you're doing. We're going to bring people together here, and then if they are interested in what we're doing, we're going to create webinars and other platforms outside of this that will allow people to come to the archive video locations for educational purposes mostly, so that people can get together and either take it to the next level, you might say, as everybody uses that euphemism all the time, but it's more about let's get to know each other first rather than just jump in, and say, oh, call this cold call on the phone and say, hey, I need somebody to do a video for me. Because I do mostly video production. It would be, okay, I met you on this platform and, it seems you're in line with what I like to do. So would you like to work with me? That's why we're using this platform, so we can get to know each other first. So thanks for that, Paul. I appreciate all your comments. Go ahead, Francine. What you got?
If someone else would like to jump in, I just wanted to say I really enjoy this platform because you get to talk to people face to face and not so much on the chat. So
I agree. And thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Make sure all those other girls over at Biz Chicks comes by and says hi once in a while, and I'll make sure I come by and see you guys.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
I'll open up my seat too because I got to go, but I appreciate it. And,
you got to run already?
Well, yeah.
So we're going to have to hook up. We'll get together.
I did have broadcast rights though, and I tried to do it with my church, and I tried to use OBS. It didn't work at all. So yeah,
that could be tricky with OBS.
Yeah,
we'll figure that out. Because there's a webcam, there's a camera module. You've got the virtual camera module for OBS.
I don't know. I'll have to look for that. I probably don't.
Yeah, browse for it. If I have it available quickly, I'll email it to you. But otherwise, that's what you require if you're going to use OBS here.
Okay,
and
good.
we can talk about that on the back. All right, cool. All right, David, what's going on, David?
What's up?
Not much. David, meet Paul. Paul, meet David. This is David Vaughn. Tell him about yourself.
You're over there.
I'm over here.
Introduce yourself, David. Tell these folks what you're all about. We met on Blab years ago, back in 2015, and had a ball.
All that's changed. I'm not about that stuff anymore. I just want commenting with GIFs.
Is that it? That's all you're here for?
I did find. So we did our Pigskin Pick'em thing yesterday, and we actually used Vocal. And I was like, well, because we were looking for ways to push it out to YouTube or whatever. And I discovered that what if something wonky was going on with my browser when I was in. So I refreshed. Well, that kills the broadcast. And there's no way to restart it.
Yeah, we're talking to him about that yet. I know it's one of those things that's frustrating.
It's just something to learn. It's fun to use. So I've taken a completely different stance towards all these types of things now. And I'm not going to complain about what's there, what's not there, what does, what doesn't work. If it works and it works out, then that's great. If it doesn't work and it becomes too much of a headache, I'll stop using it. But I'm not worried about anything else except people keep stealing my verified check mark. So I'll have to.
Hey, I thought you gave me granted rights to use that when we saw each other.
I did for you, but I didn't. Not Preston. Preston's got one, and so I'll be sending out a cease and desist.
Okay, I gave that one to him. I'm going to have to apologize to the creator here. That's right. He just said he told me I can.
No, it was just it was interesting when I popped in and hearing some of the comments. You know, like the Get Vocal logo. I don't care. It's free.
Yeah,
it's their
exactly.
stuff.
I'm getting to that point.
It works out fine. Honestly, most of the people that I hear fuss and complain about types of stuff, if you really want to be able to, fine tune type of stuff, this isn't what you're going to end up using anyway. Because something's always going to happen. Something's always going to interfere. Something's going to break or it's not going to work right. And if you're trying to do something on a professional level, then you need to actually be stepping up to what you're using to do that professional type of stuff. So just have fun with what it is. But it is fun.
And no, I agree with you 100%, David. That's why I'm here. The only reason I'm broadcasting out Facebook and YouTube is to kind of show people how this kind of platform should, and I'm not going to say should be used because there's really no should in any of this. It's however people want to use it and how it works best for them. For me, I broadcast in other places in other ways. You know that.
Yep.
I just came out here to say hi to people. I just want people to sit down and strike up conversation because when you're sitting out on Facebook and you're looking at Twitter, all I see is ugly going on out there right now. And I don't want to mess with the ugly anymore. I want to come over here and have real talks and real conversations and none of this text battle back and forth with people that I see all the time on social sites. So this helps us develop more rapport with each other. I think, and just be honest.
You know what? It's the early days of Blab. Mm-hmm. It's what we first. It's a little bit more than what we first had with Blab because you are able to push it out to Facebook and YouTube and Periscope and all at the same time, and that's kind of weird because Facebook's terms of service for their API still hadn't changed. So. But I'm not fussing.
Well, that's true on the API, but not on the back end. You can still broadcast with RTMP. Always have been able to both from the rear. Right. Let's say I know that sounds strange, but it's the way. That's the truth of the matter. They just didn't want people to be able to access the front end, which has more features to it, than send a signal out to YouTube on the back end. That just didn't. I don't know why they did it. I think it was stupid, but I don't know. No, you can.
But I like
do that. I always have.
It's exactly like it used to be. So, and I haven't played with it much. I admit I got broadcast rights and then I didn't broadcast, but I was busy doing work and a lot of other different things. I just didn't have time to do it. So, but I did yesterday. Cool. It was fun.
Hi, Patricia.
Hey, I didn't.
How are you?
I didn't
What's
know
up,
if I was
Pat?
going to destroy everything by having two North Carolinians on one broadcast.
I know, right? What's up with that?
Looks like okay.
That's good. Patricia, let the folks here who are on the broadcast. Right now, we're broadcasting out to Facebook and YouTube up until 1 o'clock. So let them know who you are, where you're from, and what you're using Get Vocal for right now.
Okay, I'm Pat Murray, and originally from Chicago, living in Durham, North Carolina right now. Well, forever. And basically, I'm a journalist. I publish the Durham Skywriter. That's an online community paper. And I also host what I call a TV show. It's just, interview/performance show. I've bounced around from platform to platform too. But I think I'm going to settle on Get Vocal. We're going to be getting channels in a couple of weeks, and I think that's kind of exciting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
yeah, that'll be our own personal page, right, where we'll be able to show where our broadcasts have been and
we'll have our own,
be able to highlight our talents.
Cute, adorable little URLs. So so we can just tell people just to go to my channel instead of worrying about sending the correct link. So that's pretty.
And that's
cool.
Huge.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
It is.
So I've been tired for several years now of being the talking head. I publish the paper. I'm the one typing out all the information, finding the information, dispensing the information. And then when I'm I have two shows actually. And I'm always the one doing the talking, always like I know it all. I don't know it all. I couldn't possibly know it all.
Yes,
So with Get Vocal, finally I can have the situation where I'm talking with someone and having the audience jump in and correct us or add to what we're saying. And even the mayor is excited. He's going to be on soon, the mayor of Durham.
Yep.
He said, just let me know when.
Mayor of Durham.
So
Awesome.
that's going to be fun.
Cool.
That's going to be fun. And finally, like I said, people will be able to talk face to face. I think I might have done a couple of shows on Blab, but Blab was not, at least for me, it wasn't stable. There was a lot of like some kind of a weird jitteriness to the image.
It was the code. They had way too much code piled on top in the UI that was in the user interfaces. When I say UI, that kept it unstable. It wasn't so much the underlying platform, the TalkBox that was used, which is identical to what's here, which is obviously advanced over the last couple of years. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, the code was pretty much broke by the time it got to where we were at before it shut down. So they kind of had to wrap it up. It was such an overhead hog with your computer. Every time we tried to, I mean, it would heat up phones literally so bad because of the amount of data.
Those complaints, yeah. But that doesn't happen now, right?
No, they've been testing it out here, and John Preto, J.S. Gilbert, those guys are big on the back end and the data and the metrics and all that, and they have noticed big time the reduction in not only the bandwidth requirements, but also just the resource necessary to run it here, that they're not seeing. Like right now, I'm using about 13% of my CPU just running all the video through here. So
how can you tell that?
That's based on my software that I use that keeps track of it. I'm using vMix on the back end to bring you like the graphics and the feed from Twitter and YouTube.
Oh,
and stuff.
Is that how you can go to Facebook and YouTube? Because most of us mortals can only go to Facebook or YouTube, right?
Oh, no. Here you can do both at the same time. And the reason for that is no. And I just was talking to that with David's regard. If you're coming in from the front end, and you're using WebRTC features through your browser where you go from your status bar and you say you're going to do a live video, then no, you cannot use that and go to YouTube at the same time. Okay. But if you come in from the back end, like when you go to make a connection on Facebook to go live and you have that other choice where you can schedule your broadcast and you have your stream URL and your stream key, here the best thing to do if you have a page you broadcast to is set a permanent stream key in that window. There's two checkboxes there. You can set it to permanent. Take that stream key and load it here and Get Vocal when you go to broadcast and set it up in the account, and you'll have both that one and the one for YouTube. That's perfectly fine with the TOS to come in from that end through RTMP to both platforms. And that's what they're doing here by letting you broadcast to both at the same time. So they just don't use the API. So you can't schedule the broadcast on Facebook. What you have to do is go back to Facebook to the page you want to broadcast to, schedule the post, and then put the link to Get Vocal in it. That's what I do. And that way people can come over here and hang out. Or because of vMix, I can pull the feed of the comments in from that page. But that's the extra bonus I have with vMix. That
is quite amazing. And David, I want to compliment you on your tremendous weight loss. I don't want to embarrass you, but I heard you talking about it, earlier. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah. David and I took a similar journey. I was at 220 when I was on Blab. I'm now at 190, 195. I've lost 30 pounds in the last several. He's lost more than I have, and I have to commend him for that time period over just a year. I think recently we've both lost quite a bit of weight, so happy for that.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, I do have a gentleman in the house. I'm only 5. Well, I used to be 5'10", but I've compressed over time.
I know the
my spine seems to be shrinking. Yeah, I'm more like 5'9" now, so it's just one of those things. But yeah, for me, that's a lot. I used to be 175 all through until I was 40 something, and now I'm 52. And for me, that one at over 200 was a little bit too much to carry. I couldn't do it anymore. So I don't want to be over 200.
I wonder
good job.
I've got.
Am I the only media person on Get Vocal, or have you seen any other media people?
Oh, there's Heather's out here. She just came out the other day. I don't know if
right, she's in radio, right?
Yeah, she's she's big on podcast startups and such. She just found the place from last week when we were out here, so you'll see her a lot more too. Don't have her name right in front of me.
John Prado was making an active
John's out here.
lower third for her.
Yeah.
Animated.
Yes,
Right?
an Austin homegirl.
Cool.
Yeah, she is, isn't she? That's right. I see David Bowman in the chat over there this afternoon. He's the gentleman I'm working very closely with right now when it comes to 5G Li-Wi, which is using lights to LED lights to emanate Wi-Fi signals, and some other really cool educational stuff. So, Paul, what else you got for us? And I'm going to ask you to step down so I get David in here for a little bit before we wrap up today.
I'm happy to step aside here and
you're okay.
Chatting with you all today, and hope to maybe jump back in later if it frees up. So
yeah,
here.
Paul, are you
seats will always be open.
Is Paul? Are you the ham radio guy?
I'm a ham radio guy. I'm kind of working with Bobby on here to get him going, and I'll jump out and let him jump in. Goodbye, everyone, and I'll be.
Well, how can we find you, Paul? How can we find you if we want to get a hold of you?
All right, my website is austinspring.com. And on Facebook, I'm Springtime. Just go facebook.com/springtime, and you'll find me.
Oh, nice.
And on Twitter, I'm
right, thanks for that. I saw that. Okay, I did see your SpringNet because you popped a get vote. You probably see it come across the feed behind my head there every now and then, where Paul left a comment on Twitter the other day to test.
All right,
the system.
I'm out.
All right, Paul. We'll see you later. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Paul.
All right, David, if you're here.
Drop too. I got to get back to work and stuff. I just wanted to pop in and say hi.
I do appreciate it, guys. That's all I'm looking for is for somebody to stop in and say hi. So this is another day. One David steps down, another one takes his place. David Bowman, welcome to the room.
Thank you so much indeed, Leland. And welcome, Patricia. I've been following your path for some years now. This is intriguing.
Oh, well,
I used to work for IBM, and we used to come to Research Triangle Park all the time. So
awesome.
Bear with
and
me.
In Chicago, I used to work in the IBM building.
Did you now? Well, it's a small world. So forgive me, I'm slightly east of you, to say the least.
A little bit.
In the UK, anyway. We're just walking the walk and talking the talk. I've been fascinated by Blab and was very much an early adopter like you guys. So it's been almost like what do you call it? It's a step backwards on one level, but it's a step forward for us all. It's I feel like the prodigal son has come back. You know, it feels like an old story, but it's actually fun. So tell me, Leland, what do you think about the dare I say it, the opportunity to annihilate Facebook? What is the chance of doing that?
Annihilate.
With something like this?
Oh, yes. Nothing less than the best for us. We have a Brexit about to appear, Patricia, which is the end of the world for me.
Don't get me started on that. I just can't believe you guys. I'm not going to say anything else. Okay, go ahead.
No. Please say what you wish, because I'm probably on the side. It's like someone is actually physically removing 27 countries from my life, and I can't imagine anything worse. So it is. I'm a Remainer, so we know full well that this is a bad year for us all here in the UK. So I have another place to live, so I'm going to be moving to Spain anyway, whatever happens.
Really?
So
Spain, you said? You're going to Spain, right?
I have no choice. It's the only country I adore. So I've been away 42 years, Patricia. I left in 1974. I still have a British accent, but I lived in Canada for most of those years, and a decade in Silicon Valley to start. So this is an old story. What do you do when you have a tiger by the tail? This is what Leland is telling me. This is what we talked about years ago. How could we improve Lab to be used by everybody? And I mean everybody. So
yeah, and they're coming to that point. There's no doubt. It's getting close, David.
And now Get Vocal.
Get Vocal is probably the best thing I've seen I've tried them all. Leland has been generous enough in his time to show me 4 others, I think. Is that correct? To
at least
play with. And
there's a lot of stuff out there.
I would love to say I like them all, but they all have limitations, and this one doesn't. This is just, I'm using an unusual phone. This is running Android Pie, one of the few
okay.
double Android machines. That's it's the OnePlus 6, which is one of the favorite toys I think I've ever played with. No, I'm not an Apple fan. You couldn't possibly even. I don't even know how to spell Apple. It has three.
Careful, she's an Apple fan. You might be. We're gonna see the claws come out here in a second.
It's not a religion. It's not
Peace.
A religion.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I enjoy Apple, and due to my different jobs I've had, I've become familiar with the other side as well.
Yeah, there is another side. You're right. I'm not sure which side it is, but nevertheless, it's very strangely aware of the fact that 85% of the world doesn't speak Apple, and only 15% have actually got the money to pay for a proper iPhone.
That's the other problem.
Well, some of us have had to resort to making monthly payments, but
that's true.
I've been there too.
That's why I keep it under budget. That's all I can do anymore. But no, David, I think you hit on you hit on a good point that this one has what the others don't. And the one thing this has is that little bit of intimidation, I think, and it's that there's this open seat that says grab this spot. And what that creates is a little bit of tension and anxiety amongst people who aren't used to just jumping into the foray or handing themselves over to the lions, you might say, because I think some people feel that way when it comes to these, that, no, I can't get in there and speak my mind, or they're just going to tear me apart because they all have the other opinion. Yeah, that's not really what happens, though, is it? No. What we've discovered with these four squares is it allows for better communication. It allows for us to bounce off each other a little bit and form those new, get those neurons firing in a little bit different direction and pathway so that we can kind of resort the thoughts we had in our mind about something or some other person or individual, because we get to see them face to face. We get to sit here and ask them the questions and hear their answers. Yeah. And it's not like the other stuff.
And I like that. It's something that is actually really dear to my heart. You can imagine that Great Britain is renowned for having people that are very reserved, Patricia. We don't actively go and talk to people in this country for some reason. But having left for 42 years and become more Canadian than I had imagined, we come from a country, well, rather, Canadians come from a country where there's only 36 million people rattling around in the second largest country on the planet. And you think, wait a minute. That's why we stop on the freeway and shake each other's hands, where there's nobody else on the road anyway. So this person coming towards you on the other side of the freeway is a magical moment in time. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, that doesn't happen in Durham. I don't know why, but it should. It is a way of thinking. So I like 36 million people more than I like the 300 million people just south of where I used to live in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. And yet, after a decade in San Francisco, in the heart of Silicon Valley in the 80s, it was a fascinating experience to actually people were talking like this for the first time.
Right.
And, California has always had a strange attitude towards life. But the moment I went to North Carolina, I realized the real proper welcome that I got there was out of this world. It was absolutely, so forgive me, but I went to Research Triangle Park, RTP, and I came back saying, that's where I have to live. That's where I belong. That's where I feel at home. So
I do like it here. Although I will always love Chicago. It's my home. But
fair enough.
I moved here to my mom's home, and I love it as well.
Well, there you go. So let's go back to Chicago as a realistic place to live. How far out were you from the center, if I may ask?
Let's see. For those who are not Chicagoans, Chicago is very neatly laid out. If you've ever flown over Chicago or you'll notice the beautiful grid.
It's gorgeous.
Chicago is beautifully laid out. So I said that so that I could explain where I lived. So the 0 point is Madison and State Street, right in the heart of downtown. Right. So when I say that I lived 8300 South, That's like 8 miles away from downtown, so to speak. So,
and that's about the nearest I'd like to be if I went to any major city.
So I was born
8 miles out.
6,600 South, which is considered Mid-South. Grew up 8,300 South, which was considered, I guess, far South. And I guess
this is where that Jim Croce song is starting to fill my head right now. On the south side of Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
In the baddest part of town.
There you go. Eric, you should be a singer. But I guess the closest I lived from the center was probably around 4,900. So
okay,
yeah, which is like considered Hyde Park, University of Chicago community.
Yeah, there you go. I worked in Chicago a little bit. I used to work. I was telling David a week or so ago. I did cell tower placements on top of all the big buildings, like 900 Michigan, and several. I was actually out in Auburn Heights area. I can't think of the name of it now. It's to the north.
Oh, okay.
So I used to scramble up there and look down and watch the birds fly by.
That's amazing.
It's an awkward experience, I'll tell you, being up on top of those buildings.
So what kind of safety equipment did you have?
None. I could literally have fallen off the building. And not only that, but in those older buildings, if you've ever been through an actual elevator switch room, it's insane because most of the older buildings still use open switch architecture, which means there are switches popping and sparks flying all over the place while these cars are being accessed with the button up or down. Every time it gets fired, there's sparks flying everywhere. And you have to go through that to get to the roof.
Oh my God.
And it was like, we're walking through these places. All these guys are in hard hats and goggles and everything. They're like, oh, we just got to get through here. Pow, 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 pow. Flying everywhere. We had no hard hats, no nothing, because nobody told us what we were up against. They said, get on the roof. So we got on the roof. But.
So when you said you got high, you didn't mean what I thought you meant. You meant you actually were way up there.
I was up there.
That's amazing.
A scary life you've led.
It was fun times. It was fun.
It is still
exciting.
Fun. Yeah.
Gets the blood pumping, that's for sure.
And you got to see all the gargoyles that people down on Earth miss. A lot of the older some of the older tall buildings in Chicago have gargoyles.
Very ornate.
Yes, they do.
To protect them from evil.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Talking about protecting ourselves from evil. So are we all about to look hard at MeWe as an alternative?
That's a good one. Let's talk about that in just a second, David. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone out there who might be on Facebook or YouTube. We're over here at getvocal.com having a conversation. So if you'd like to join us, follow that link in the chat. If you're on YouTube, you're not going to be able to find that, but I can bring your comments into the feed. So if you want to leave a question or a comment and let us know, I'll be happy to bring it up. Otherwise, I come out here every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern at Wake Up West Coast. It's lunchtime to connect people across the U.S. from the East Coast to the West Coast, just to sit down and talk about what's taking place today, tomorrow, maybe the next day. So, David, let's keep going with that. We got John Preto just showed up. John, go ahead and say hi to everyone while you're here. Introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about what David just brought up as a topic.
Parlo Italiano? Is this the Italian vocal that's going on today?
Not quite Italian.
Sure. Not quite, but maybe.
I have a few minutes. I wanted to pop in and say hello before I had to take off to build my new podcast studio so I can be like Leland when I grow up.
Oh, that would be nice.
Oh, come on.
We all aim for that role. Come on, John. You can do better.
I can't even compare. He's being facetious, David. Let's just put it that way.
But I
gathered.
You know what happened, Leland, when you first started the show in the room? I don't know if you caught that.
I didn't.
Elise popped in, and she's Blab royalty, and then she didn't know what she was doing, and she was on mobile, so she couldn't see the text chat room, and so I just got got the phone with her, so she's going to be hanging out a little bit, and then Eric,
I'll drop out. I'm going to drop out because I saw.
Okay, Patricia. All right, Patricia.
John's here. Joseph is here, so I'm going to go ahead and drop out.
Lovely to see you, Patricia.
Thank you. How do we find you? How do we find you, Patricia?
Well, if you want to read my online newspaper and see an all-positive newspaper, which is very rare, you can go to DurhamSkyWriter.com. durhamskywriter.com, and I can be found easily on Twitter at Durham Sky Writer.
Nice. Fabulous. And it should Facebook, be in the chat, right? Well. Did I spell that right? That should take you to it. We do have hot links available now in the chat. So if you leave a link to where you're located, people will be able to click on that and follow you in another tab. Awesome. So make sure if you're leaving the seat to leave a link to your home address or your email or whatever you want people to contact you. Nice. All right, John, keep going. What did you have to say?
Patricia. Nice to have met you. And please look after Durham. Please bring in the mayor to meet him again. All the very best. Definitely. Yes. Yes. Bye-bye.
Another blabber, Eric Rosner. And I don't know if you remember Eric. Eric was an artist that did motion graphics work for Hollywood for a long time. He did a lot of cartoons. He used to do a lot of cartoon work on Blab. He just came on today as well. So I'm excited to have Eric in the fold now in the Good community. So we're really building our posse.
Well, there's two people that I want to get on here, one from California, one from Florida. They're both Disney caricature artists. That's where my brand, if you see the brand behind me under Leland Best Live, that caricature was created on Blab. And it was done by sitting in one of the rooms here in a seat while she was in the other with her iPad and sketch. One was done by hand, freehand. The other was done digitally. I have one for my other brand, Best Little Storehouse, which is our eBay store. So $5 a piece I paid for those on a Blab one night, and I would have paid hundreds, if not 1,000, for that stuff professionally.
So Eric used to draw online, and then Gabe. Remember, Gabe used to draw online for a bunch of people.
Yep.
He did Colin's caricature, and there's a lot of people still using Gabe's work around. But Eric did some great animation work with After Effects. He would actually show you cartooning with After Effects, which is just amazing stuff. So happy to have
Eric. I'll be hooking up with you.
And Elise, we'll get Elise back on, and she'll. But I did have some news. I'm told that Heather Havenwood, who was around this weekend, is going to start a crypto show here on Get Vocal.
Yes, she is. I'm working with her on the back end to get her audio and video stuff up and running through the way she wants to do it.
Perfect.
And John, while you're here, this is David Bowman, the gentleman I spoke to you about with regards to the educational platform that your friend has built. And we would like to have that demo at some point.
Yeah.
So, John, it's a true honor to meet you again. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing well.
Probably back in Blab about 3 years ago, I think. We may have bumped into each other.
I think we did. I remember your voice. Yeah.
It's an honor to be with you again. Congratulations. So tell us more.
Should be interesting.
Your football, dare I say, fanaticism, or have you always?
I started playing when I was in first grade. I was 5.
Oh wow!
I still was playing men's league until I started traveling too much, and the team was yelling at me. But into my 50s, I was playing in a men's league. But I'm a Gunners fan, so.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And you're allowed into this country. I'm sorry, I was about
to. True.
No, we do play a slightly different game of football here, but it's. I must admit, I spent a decade in San Francisco, so I got to enjoy American football more than I realized.
Yeah.
But it's a true treasure to see that you actually like the Gunners as well. We definitely should meet. I don't know whether you ever come to this part of the planet, but.
I was just there. I was just in London just a couple.
Heathrow, really? Oh God, I'd have flown up to see you.
A couple months ago, I was at the Four Seasons by the bridge.
Yes. Oh gosh, I know it well. Yes. Well, I've been away 42 years. I've been in Canada for most of that time, but I spent a decade in the 80s in San Francisco with a startup called Personics, which was all about personal sound. You may remember. So. As the co-founder of that, it was a fun time to convince the record industry that there was another way of singing music by cannibalizing every track and stop sending it out as an album, allowing you to choose any song from any album and mix and match, create your own, in this case, custom cassette, because the CD even started in the 80s. It was all.
You remember that, John?
Fun, expensive.
I do remember.
That's crazy.
I'm sure you guys have been a lot of property that's still valid today, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a valid concept. I think, in fact, Spotify does it better. Of course, they always will.
Right.
But the idea of you and I.
Oh, I had a feeling that was going to take place. I think he was losing his signal there. Yeah, it showed up, and I saw it when it went to his avatar. You could see the bandwidth warning bars down in the bottom corner. So David's obviously lost his connection to get vocal, which can happen. It's what we have to deal with out here, John. So yeah, we're looking to get together with you. Oh, here he comes. He's coming back.
Sorry, I got bumped. Yep.
Yeah, that's what we thought. Go ahead and finish your thought, David.
Yeah, no, the idea really, really would be interesting if you sat and talked with Apple for a good decade, as we did, and they told you, "Oh, we're sorry, we can't get into the music business because Apple chose the wrong word. Apple Corp, Apple Inc. were two parallel universes, and the Beatles owned, guess what, the original Apple."
Yes.
And so the copyright lawyers.
They finally settled that dispute, though, right?
Yeah, only after 37 years of work. Yeah, that makes the lawyer very rich, and me go, wait a second. Apple.
This is what I see, guys. This is what I. Yeah. This is what I see right now. David's not even in the
audio only. David. You have audio only for David. Yes.
I'm not there.
No, not video. Audio only.
Audio only. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kicked down. That's typical of what it would do bandwidth. So you're crunching bandwidth right now, and that's what it's doing.
Weird. Yeah.
Just wanted you to see that.
let me
see what it was doing for you, David. Oh no, you're fine. It's no big deal. I was letting people know that if you can't see David, it's because we can't see him either. That's all.
There's Mary's back.
Am I visually back? I can't tell. There's no way of telling.
We can see you now. We're good.
Okay. That's good. So I find it interesting to go back to the time when Facebook started and think, wait a second, wasn't this a group of guys out of Harvard that was it the Winklevoss brothers that actually wrote this code?
Pretty much. No, they hired Mark to write the code. It was their idea to do. I can't remember the name. They had a name for it, Harvard book or something, and And then they hired Mark to write the code, and then he started writing, and then, like a month later, he stole the code and started his own.
Pretty much.
So
we haven't seen the movie Social Network. That's a good movie if you haven't seen it.
They got paid. They got paid.
They did indeed, and they started playing with
crypto.
With crypto ever since. So anyway,
11 million worth. Yeah, that's quite a bit to just drop on crypto. Let's just take 11 million and just throw it out there and see what happens.
Now worth $1 billion.
Yeah,
exactly.
Holdings are over $1 billion.
So the music industry was willing, and we were squeaky clean, and we were making about $1,000 a day for every store. 250 record stores were running in 87, 85, 86, 87 was the rollout. And the system was making cassettes, of course, in those days, because that's what everyone had a cassette deck in the car, Leland, didn't they? And was, along with an 8-track side by side sometimes. Yeah. The idea of music being on cassette was the wrong platform. We knew it on day one. So the mistake was, in a sense, we couldn't move once you have to have Dolby B encoded content on tape. You can't suddenly remaster all those tens of thousands of albums we had. But the concept was right. It was music done right and at its best quality. 20 kilohertz on tape was pretty hard to find in those days.
Oh, exactly. But what I'm seeing is a lot of people are going back now to the digital tape again. This is like a big news out in the tech industry as far as saving data and the speed at which it can be saved, plus the amount of data which will fit on a digital tape. What do you know about this stuff, John, as far as digital tapes coming into the industry again?
I don't know about digital tape. I'm an audiophile. I've been in the audio business for 1 million years. I have an 8-track tape player.
Good.
Operational and an album, and I have some vinyl as well. And then I've done a lot of professional work in broadcast and the audio world. So, but I haven't seen. I don't know. I guess I don't pay that enough attention. The best show, one of the best shows on the TWiT network, was taken off, which was Home Theater Geeks, where they talked about really high end audio and video stuff. And that podcast was just turned off about 6 months ago.
Really?
Probably a bit too elitist for this world, isn't it? to spend $10,000 on a pair of speakers is a bit steep, but maybe some people have that kind of spare cash. I don't
know. My speakers aren't that much, so mine weren't that much.
But some of the equipment he buys to do the video broadcasting, obviously, there's a range of ways you can do so. Like, for instance, me doing my broadcast here, I'm all software based. So I run a simple PC. I don't have switchboard. I used to use a mixing board, but now I'm all online virtual mixing. So everything I do is digital, and it's just inclusive of a simple desk. Now, John, his setup is a little different. You're running what over there right now, John?
No, this is all software based. The one in my office is hardware.
Oh, okay.
So, and we're going to I'll be running that over the next 3 weeks or so. We're re-engineering the room to be a podcast setup rather than a broadcast setup.
Okay.
But it's running new tech. So I run the new tech. I'll show you. Let me turn this off.
So he's basically got a TriCaster, right?
Yeah, I run the top of the line TriCaster, and the neat thing there is the switch between analog interfaces and digital interfaces, which is a huge paradigm forward. So rather than run SDI cables all over the place,
yes,
you can run these NDI cameras anywhere within your network.
That's right.
So this is the unit that I have here at my office.
Okay,
love it.
And so
I aspire to that unit someday.
And you know what? I upgraded. So I bought the baby unit used here in Las Vegas. I found a great deal on this guy used here in Las Vegas, and then I sold this one and then upgraded to the Big Daddy.
Oh, the barter up model, huh?
I'm getting a call from one of my partners, so I got to run.
All right, John, I got two.
Thank you so much for your time. That's wonderful.
Always a pleasure to have you here.
See you guys.
Hey, John, we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
All right. I got about 2.5 minutes before this broadcast comes to a close out on Facebook and YouTube. So if you are watching on either of those locations, please come over to getvocal.com, because those broadcasts will be shut down in just a couple minutes, where we can at least hang out and have a little bit of an after show conversation here if you'd like. The seats are open for anyone. We have 2 available right now. So if anyone here in the room or anyone outside wants to come in and join in the conversation, come on by. I'm out here every Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern at Wake Up West Coast. It's lunchtime. So, David, what have you got for the viewers before this broadcast shut down? Where can we find you, and what have you got going business-wise that people might be interested in?
Well, we've started a venture that most likely will be a year away. We're in stealth mode at the moment, so we're talking more likely 5G before this is viable. But the reality check is that we believe that there's a moment in time when we have to have a healthy mind. And we are focused on delivering content, primarily in Spanish, but also in English. So we think of this as a marketplace, primarily South America is second only to California. So while we're based in the UK, we actually have our R&D offices here in England, but we will be moving everything over to Spain, where there's a much more interesting country called Northern Spain. So please join us, and my email is easily remembered, abcdefg.ca@gmail.com. And again, stealth mode only. Thank you.
Perfect. David, I'm just going to ask one favor before we actually wrap up the broadcast. I'm going to have you step out of the room for just a moment in time and hang out in the chat while I close out the broadcast, and then we'll open those seats back up so people can hop in for just an after broadcast discussion.
No problem. Thank you so much indeed for your time, Lane.
Thank you, David, and we'll talk to you very soon. All right, so I'm going to lock the seats for just a moment while I wrap up this broadcast. This, again, is Leland Best from Leland Best Live. You can find me over at BCBLive.com, actually, where I run all those really cool things that people who are into online live broadcasting would need to know, the sites, the software, and all the little tips and tricks that you need to be able to better your broadcast just a little bit. We're out here every Monday, like I said, 12 p.m. Eastern at Wake Up West Coast. It's lunchtime. We're just here to communicate, hang out, network, and become friends, maybe business associates down the road. So if you want to come by and hang out with us, look for the broadcast to show up on getvocal.com, usually right after this broadcast. So if you just want to hang out and mingle with people before next Monday, you can. Those seats are always open for that period of 1 week, and then we lock them down and go live following afterwards. So I'm out of here. We'll see you in the next broadcast, everyone. Take care. But if you want to come on by and hang out with us in the post show, you're more than welcome at getvocal.com. We'll see you next time. Take care. Have a great week.